Good evening, my name is Aine Duffy and you're welcome to Cavan TV's News and Views. The programme is brought to you weekly on Fridays 7 to 8. Each week we take a look at what is going on in the county and we invite guests in to chat live in the studio. If you'd like to be a correspondent for your area, you can email us at drumlinmedia@gmail.com. So, if you have something interesting going on, please do let us know. This week my guests are Aine Smith, who is Good Neighbour of the Year in the Anglo-Celt Rehab Person of the Year thing, and indeed Cavan Person of the Year was announced last night, and we will talk about that later, Aine. And later on in the programme I will be talking to Barry Wilson from Belturbet, who is part of a committee that is looking into new banking arrangements in the town as the Ulster Bank prepares to close its branch in Belturbet. To national news, well, one of the big stories this week is the bizarre case of the defamed businessman Cavan McGeever. Mr McGeever has now admitted to the Gardaí that the story of his 7-month imprisonment was a complete hoax. The story first came to light when he was found wandering, semi-naked and confused, in the roadside near Ballinamore, County Leitrim. Well, I can tell you now that next week I have in the studio the writer Catherine Vallely, who found him and brought him to a Garda station. Next week's interview with Catherine is an exclusive, as it's her first time to talk on TV about finding McGeever. As the story unfolds, it is gaining a very high level of interest in the media. Indeed, McGeever is turning out to be something of a Walter Mitty character. We shall hear all about that in full next week. Well, on county news, Cavan County GAA have entered a 5-year partnership with the VEC to use the facilities at the Doonaneel Barracks. The county board will use the facilities on the site, including the gym, football pitch and the canteen. No monies will change hand. In return, the county board will look after the upkeep of the grounds, and the VEC football teams will benefit from the coaching and the strength and conditioning expertise of the board's personnel. The 30th annual Anglo-Celt Rehab Boards took place last night, and the overall winner was, who was it, Aine? From Crushala. We will talk about that later. We wish all the nominees the very best, and of course we acknowledge all the good work they do in the community. And to local town news, well, in Kilshandra, the local community drama group present Smoke and Mirrors, a play written by Caroline Farley. Incidentally, Caroline and myself were in the same year in Loretta College, Cavan, some years ago. You can go along to see it in the Cornmill Theatre in Carrigallen. It starts tonight, the 22nd, it goes right through to the 1st of April. Curtains up at 8:30 and it's well worth going to see. In Carla, there will be a cake sale after the Passion of Our Lord next Good Friday, outside the church. Proceeds are in aid of Carla National School. Arva bid farewell to Father Shamie Cullen, who travels back to Japan, where he has been a missionary for the past 45 years. He had been on vacation in Arva. A farewell mass was celebrated in the Sacred Heart Church in Arva. In Mullahoran, congratulations were the order of the day for Paul Brady, who won his 10th All-Ireland singles handball title last Sunday. There is no stopping that guy, and indeed he was the Grand Marshal of the Cavan Parade on St Patrick's Day last. Ballintemple sends its best wishes to Alana Donoghue, who won Junior Cavan's Got Talent. And Belturbet said farewell to Sergeant Dave Coyle, who retired from the Garda after 31 years of service. A great night was had by all in the Ducking Stool Bar in Belturbet. In Bonboy Templeport, a whist drive will take place in Templeport Resource Centre tonight, Friday the 22nd of March. Please support, because it's in aid of the local Apostolic Work Society. And in Drumlane, plans are in place to celebrate a dawn mass in Drumlane Abbey on Easter Sunday morning, weather permitting. Ballybor, tonight there will be a health and wellness presentation in the Hotel Bailey. The talk is on the use of harmful chemicals in the home. In Killincare is also starting Community Text Alert. Information is available locally. Communities are encouraged to get involved, as unfortunately house robberies are very much on the increase. Now, where can you go and what can you do in Cavan this week? The Cavan Drama Festival is still on. It is in its 67th year and it goes through right till Sunday night. And booking, as usual, is done through the Credit Union. And you're still in there with a chance to be a Rose of Tralee. Applications are still to be got at www.roseoftralee.ie or ring Angela on 087 811 5391. Junior Cavan's Got Talent. Well, the final took place last Sunday and the winner was 13-year-old Alana Donoghue from Lacken in Ballina. No doubt that's a name we will hear more of in the future. Now, if you want to see the competitors at their best, you can go back into the Green Room shows with Paul Cox and see them as they were guests on his show. You can go along to Kilbride to see their variety show, and that's on from last night, the 21st, right through to the 23rd in Tunnyduff Hall. Show starts at 8:30. And the Muggles are still auditioning for a male actor for their acclaimed show Shooting Stars, and the contact number there is 085 155 5076. There is a dog afternoon in McGinty's Bar this Saturday, 1 to 6. There's a bric-a-brac sale, open fire, live music, and it's all in aid of Cavan SPCA. There's a donation there of €5 on the door. And anybody interested in doing any walking this weekend? I don't think so, but you can go along every Sunday to the car park at the Orchard Bar at 9:30. All you need are good walking boots and a packed lunch. So, along to my first guest in the studio tonight, and that's Aine Smith. Aine, you're welcome, and thanks for coming in tonight.
Thank you.
You are Cavan's Good Neighbour of the Year. Cavan Person of the Year, Good Neighbour of the Year.
That's right, yeah.
Right? So don't be shy and don't be bashful. Tell us how you got that title.
How I got that title. Got that title from looking after a neighbour man. He's a neighbour all my life. He lived in the pass. I live in a wee pass. But in the last 7 or 8 years he got into, not so bad health, but got more feeble.
He was obviously living alone.
Living alone, yeah. He had a brother lived him, but he's dead now 24 or 5 years. So he's on his own for the last 24 or 5 years. But anyway, he just started a call to us after we got married, and it went from bad to worse.
Good for him, I guess.
Good for him, yeah. We enjoyed him. He started when our children came along. Then he was like a second grandfather to my wee lad.
So you helped him out. He had a farm, obviously.
He had a farm, yeah. But in the last 7 or 8 years, he had set. But it got to the stage then he wasn't capable of cooking. So he used to drop up for his breakfast in the morning, maybe come back for his dinner, and come back for his tea in the evening, and the latter. And then he got a lot more feeble in the last 2 years. Then so we used to go down and check on him every night. Yeah. Well, I checked on him every night. I knew over the last lot of years.
So did you look into getting like the home help and all the all the things that can be for older people living on their own? Did you look into getting that?
Looked into a certain amount, but he was an independent character.
Yeah.
And he didn't want many of these things.
He didn't?
No,
Okay.
he didn't. He'd rather...
I do find that a lot of older people do like to keep their independence and they don't want to give in to that sort of thing. No, he didn't. They like the privacy as well, don't they?
They do like the privacy. We got on the panic button, and I don't think he wore it one night.
Yeah.
he liked to think he was a young man, and he was a young man, and he wasn't he brought a lot of joy into our life too.
Yeah. Because
he was a great character, and he was seeing us any news or anyone whatever was going on, he was up to tell us all about it. And but it was sad too to see the last year at home, his health deteriorating.
Yeah. So what age was he then?
He was exactly almost 81. He died.
Right. Okay. Right.
So he had
so
a good years at home.
So he had a good quality of life because
he had a super quality of life.
Right.
That's the only way to describe it. He just old age, nothing. He took nothing. He had no disease, no nothing. He just pure old age crumbled in him and brought him down, and it did bring him down, bring us all down.
Did you find that a strain on your family at times, having to mind? Like, could you go away for a weekend? Could you go on holidays? Could you do things like that?
Yes, we done everything we could. He never took a day out of our things. No,
and nor did he expect you either, did he?
Oh, not at all. No, if that weekend we went away, my father and mother was still relatively healthy, and they would check on him. The weekend.
So he had good neighbours.
You were
all good neighbours.
All good neighbours too. Yeah.
Okay.
But like I used to go down nearly most nights to him for, if it's only for 10 minutes. Like people think that there's a lot of work looking after a neighbour. The biggest thing you give a neighbour is your presence and your time.
Just to say hello,
Just
isn't it
say
really?
hello,
And do you find that people think it's quite strange to be really so helpful to a neighbour, because people don't seem to do that anymore. Everybody's busy, everybody's going somewhere, and it's.
Well, presence and time doesn't cost anything.
Well, you would think that it doesn't. It doesn't cost anything to go and visit somebody, but a lot of people don't do it.
A lot of people don't do it. No, and definitely the course. But like it broke our heart. Like he ended up falling and breaking his hip.
Did he end up in a nursing home in the end?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. How did he cope with that, knowing that he would have to go into a nursing home and that he would have to give up his own independence?
Cope very badly with it.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
Cope very, very badly. It actually broke our heart, but at the end of the day, he got into his dementia set in a bit.
All right, okay. So he began to forget things.
He began to forget things. Well, not until he till he actually had a fall. We got him at the back door of the house inside. He was at the minute. Actually, it was the weekend it happened. We were at a wedding and we stayed over in the Slieve Russell, and my father was looking after him. That was strange. Looking after was come down to him. And he was at Mass down that morning, and he had the suit on him, ready for Mass. He drove his car.
Yeah.
And he said he'd be up at 1 o'clock to my home house for the dinner. So he was a noticed man on time. So 1 o'clock come, and Daddy left till 1:05. And
he was still able to drive nearly 80 years of age.
He was driving until he was
and he was safe enough on the road.
Safe enough.
Because sometimes I worry about my mum. I hope she's not watching because she's always looking into the fields and things like that. She says, "Oh, look at that."
Men is more inclined to be looking into fields than women.
She looks into them too. So, okay, you minded your name. What was his first name?
Matty.
Matty. You minded Matty. And then, did people think that was kind of unusual that you gave so much time to your neighbour?
No, because we were family friends all our lives. Him and actually my father and him is practically the one age.
Yeah.
And they would have went to the dances to start off. We were dances together.
And is your community a good community for watching out for other people like that?
Good, yeah. There's a big community alert going in.
Is that the text alert thing? No,
well, I don't think
No,
Cavan has gone into the text alert thing yet.
Okay, so you do have a community alert. You're watching out for each other and keeping an eye on each other and things like that.
The way things has gone now at the minute. Like.
Absolutely, looking out for people and watching out for strange cars and things like that. Okay, another thing people should be doing as well is watching out for neighbours, like in case they're missing. If you haven't seen somebody for a day or they haven't turned up at the post office, actually the postmistress in Ballinya is very good. If some of her, people haven't come to the post office that day, she'll say, I think we should check on people, And that's another reason why that people don't like to see their local post offices closed and things like that. You know what I mean? Because
it was a focus on people for people to meet. Like Matty used to go off every Friday over and collect his pension. Like Matty has 2 sisters alive yet. Matty has, 3 sisters alive yet. He has a sister in Drogheda and he has 2 sisters in England. And they'd be home and he has 5 nieces around Drogheda.
Okay, so he has
he has a family.
Okay.
He had a family, and them 5 nieces was very good to him over the years. Like they used to be up and but they're a brave bit away. Like they just can't be in Clifford at a minute's notice. Like.
Well, tell us about the gala banquet last night, the Cavan Anglo-Celtic Rehab Award. It read like a fabulous occasion.
It was a fabulous occasion.
Everybody was well.
We were there for 7:30.
Up.
Showered and shaved.
Yeah.
Free reception drinks.
Everyone cleaned up well.
Everyone cleaned up well. The night started with
Did you have to bring your own table of guests or anything like that? How does that work now?
Yeah, we got it when I was nominated, or when I was told that I'd won the award. They came 20 tickets in the post.
So you have to fill your slot.
Try and fill them.
Okay, well done, yeah.
So I sold my 20 tickets to family and neighbours. And they come and supported me last night.
Yeah.
And
was there anybody else in your category, or was it?
There was 4 or 5 more in the category.
Okay, and were they likewise just neighbours in general, or did they pick one neighbour, or what was the story?
They must have looked into it and picked out that I must have been the most worthiest.
No, but the other people, the other people in your category, did they look after all their neighbours, or did they just pick one neighbour in particular?
They must have just picked one neighbour in particular. Yeah, I don't know exactly what way that was done.
I'm sure you're very good to all your neighbours, though.
Oh, I am, yeah. That's my passion.
But that's the thing about country folk. They do look out for each other.
Oh, they do,
yeah.
Surely. Then the night progressed to a lovely meal. And then after the meal, then the started with the awards for all the different categories.
You were telling me earlier that you were surprised that they just actually called out the winner on the night, that there hadn't been any
interviews or anything.
Pre-interviews or anything on the night.
No,
was just the winner was decided by the committee, and that was it, picked on the night. Okay. And the overall winner, and then there was also the a person of the decade as well.
That's correct, that's right.
Yeah. And that was the lady from Belturbet, you were saying.
Yes. Unfortunately, it's gone on 30 years, I think it is now. 30 years.
Yeah, I think Cavan is the second longest person of the year. Donegal is the first.
Right,
that's right. Yeah.
And
it's been every single year. It hasn't missed a break.
And then they're trying to bring back then 30 people over the years, but unfortunately there's a few of them deceased now. But there was a lot of familiar faces that I knew. Mel Doherty, John B. Kelly.
So basically the Person of the Year award means somebody who has gone out of their way, has given good service to the community voluntarily. Like
every one of them was all very worthy people that got their award for the different roles that they've done. And
it's recognition for people who would not otherwise get credit.
Otherwise, you would not get credit.
And I think as well that when I hear your story of how well you looked after your neighbour, and I say, yeah, that's a nice thing to do, and maybe somebody sitting there and thinking, yeah, I mean, maybe I should, you know what I mean? There's somebody down the road, yeah, gosh, you should call on him more often. To hear a story like that, it does make people aware, make them think, yeah, that's something you can do. You know?
Oh, big time, like. I used to like when I used to bring. Then he was actually back to Mally. Like when he was 10, he was actually 10 months in the nursing home, and he'd see you coming. He used to sit in this recreation room, and he'd see you. He could see you maybe 50 yards away, and he was getting up. He knew when he seen me coming, he was getting out for a smoke.
All right, okay.
He didn't kill him. It didn't kill him.
He didn't do any harm, obviously. He lived to 81.
He loved the smoke till the day he died.
Okay.
So
you're obviously very fond of them, as well. You know, people in the community looking after each other. What were the other nominees in the awards? What were they?
There was grandparent of the year. There was sports person of the year.
Yeah.
Group community leader of the year. Those 7 or 8 different categories. All very worthy winners in their own right, like. So that's
yeah. And again, to get back to your neighbour, did you looking after him and things like that, you didn't find it stressful?
Absolutely
stressful
not.
at all.
It was a joy to do it because
the whole family rolled in, did it?
The whole family, including the children. Like even he had this thing of bringing a packet of sweets, packet of silver mints to Kew. Practically every day.
Do you miss him now, yeah?
We do miss him dreadfully. The children miss him dreadfully. But it's funny, like, he used to bring this packet of silver mints up to him every morning nearly, or every evening when he came up from school. And some of the days after, I was looking in some of the mornings, the day of the funeral, is pressing the kitchen. There was not alone one roll of silver mints, there was 2 boxes of them.
Yeah.
He had a stockpile of them built up.
Okay. So you're obviously a very busy man because you work shifts and you have a farm as well during the day. And you manage to look after your neighbour. So you're quite a busy person.
Quite a busy person. Well, I have good help, as I said on the paper, like from my father. Like he's a very active man yet.
So you help your dad, and your dad helps you.
Yeah, he gives me a big help. Like, but I work shift for him in Bailiver and the powder plant in Bailiver 22 years ago now. So
well done, yeah. So
part
that's
of the furniture there.
Yeah. It's nearly with a farm nowadays. You have to have the job.
Yeah, you wouldn't survive with a farm and so on, unfortunately.
Well done, Aine. Thank you very much for coming in, and well done. And I'm glad you've been appreciated for the work you did do for your neighbour in the community. And it's a great story. Yeah. And I'm sure the people will be enlightened by it. Okay. Thank you very much, Aine.
Thanks very much, Anya. Welcome. Bye bye.
So now we go along to the Gaelskull, and they're in Killegally National School, who were in the parade St Patrick's Day, and and Eason's Cavan sponsored them, and they got their award. And now we're going to over to a clip, and we're going to see them in the parade. I didn't know what that was about.
I'm after fighting in the rain with tea there, so with whiskey. Here's Gold Rafferty, ladies and gentlemen. Right, let's see how much noise they can make. Can we hear you? Come on, let's see you. We can't hear you. I'm making all this noise is from British National School, Killygarry. Big round applause that made their way all the way around, ladies and gentlemen. I'm making all this noise is from British National School, Killygarry.
So, the awards were presented to Killygarry National School and Cavan TV went out to the presentation.
Very welcome. Good evening, Tinol Costasha, our Easter Assembly. August tá cuairteoirí, tá lán, mammies, daddies, August tá cuairteoirí. We have a few visitors fás speisialta. Cén fág bhfuil na cuairteoirí an seo mar bhí an bua. We got first place, okay, in Moorhill Lála Pádraig and some Parad Lála Pádraig. The hide on float is far. Agus is féidir le bheith eáil an seo Karen is just Cavan rinne along a lot of the artwork and seo and being a Tish Mahori ag Obergadine le hide on Tishfantas and Moorhill Lála Pádraig agus bhhailm go dúir se búlabas mór dós. Ag obair le haid gael scoil brechne agus ag rágur scoil ionta agus gur scoil áling agus gur gael scoil anráthí seo. Now we have Cuairteoir Ella, another visitor on Tuasin Pacelli, Lynch, on on Shuppa Easons. Agus, Connick Shay, you saw our float. Yes, and what did you think of it?
We had 3 judges
yes.
Located around the parade, and all 3 judges came to the same conclusion, and your float was absolutely excellent. It is a credit to you, and we're delighted to give you a prize of...
my daddy made the float.
Very good, very good. So, the first prize is €150 worth of books for your library, and you can pick out the books.
Caderby fishing, thank you very much. Agus we got kind of post against it. Or they make two tomato the douchina the Nadina talk Hewitt on so €150 worth of books, and we all know it's sprawling. We love books against Breffney. Naka, we get information all is so lower. Agus mata focal as gaelga, nocular all is good. Find to A, Asan lower. Mata to if you want to find out where is Timbuktu or Bangladesh or Cyprus, what's in the news below,
yes.
Look up your atlas and go to A, and we'll be going down to you. And Ikshupadora picking out lower €100 the high Wales got briefly. Oh, the holly.
Huh?
Come on. On water pot. I'm feeling me wrong shame feeling Lini and I've short or douche. Okay, wrong tweet. No, the negative top of people not be getting much on wrong tweet. Wrong car. Wrong tree. I'll just go to an essay car. Wrong Molly May Parsonage. Sorry, what the mess. There you go. Fire away. Health and safety. Is there anybody you can't see?
No.
Wait, no, I said you're talking mayor than mail, the Hagen and Greengrass. Elliot, you can talk your mayor than mail, the Hagen Greengrass. No, Minter. Agus na mún tóirí, Carclór,
Yes.
an
The parents.
Tá mé gar ché tá má, ag na imime seachláide sin áhuiirteach. We got king in effect, all everybody visible. Yeah, one of them is not allowed. Yeah, so. Just 1 minute. Okay, talk about talking about the men. Well, Eddie on what? Molly May on what? Inta of big air shit. Hoepen no mee. Beker jammen. Oh, beker hem op schakluiden. Ga me gak op schakluiden. Zullen we goed maken? Jammen aan wat? Ashlingham man. Inta. Okay, now Eddie, are not making it so travel in that on one. Now, we can air cartridge on one. No, they didn't. Man, be basic. Fair, paper and camera.
Easton, as you know, is a very well-known brand name around the country.
Yes.
As we get all the good upside of being a member of a strong name and a strong brand.
Yes.
What we were trying to do with this initiative,
Yes.
we looked at the St. Patrick's Day parades, and quite a number of people would be critical of just having big trucks and so on going down the street.
Would
So,
they? Yeah.
you know, rather than having more young people. So what we were trying to do is trying to, you know, have some sort of an incentive there for young people to get involved in the parade.
Yes.
So we come up with this idea of having a best prize for the best float in the parade by any of the primary schools in the region. And we're delighted that there was such an effort put into this float. It's
Yes.
absolutely brilliant.
Yes.
You know, and hopefully you will have stronger competition next year when people see this.
Yes.
Is the idea.
Yes.
So the real incentive is to actually get schools involved, and our little payback is, in actuality, is books. You know, you couldn't get a better prize than a book. You know,
And the school has a link with Eason's because God would have been Rodagan guys. Sometimes I need something for art. I'm into Eason's. We have an account with Eason's. We got the Oxford English Dictionary, or is it Cambridge? I'm not sure now, but we're going to get an atlas and dictionaries. If you know, if you need information, if you need to find out a word, that's where we go. And we have a great, we have a shop on wall, great shop in Cavan. How many people do you employ?
10 people.
10 people. That's 10 good jobs, 10 valuable jobs in Cavan. So that's on wall. But while I'd like to say go to Mahagat, go to Pashti, lots of Sabina here in truck. In taxi, you should be there on August Bush of douche, but for while I'm just special, love she's finished. On ba. On go back men, Kate talk on ba. So love she's finished bed. But while I'm the special, I'd like very much to thank our very hard-working Cushman Adish Mahori, who did the Karen, I think, did a lot of the page work, and Seamus and Marion, and Doyadi provided the truck, Seamus, and Gurd Mila Mahagav, and we have a fantastic achievement for a small school.
Smile and endure. Nicest manners. Craig, I don't think we want to see that dirty big knee. Do we? Put it down, boy. It's okay if it touches the floor. It's all right.
National School on their participation in the St. Patrick's Day Parade. Casey's done very, very well, and we'd like to thank yourself, teachers and students, for all your involvement on the day. On St. Patrick's Day there was 3 adjudicators in the town looking out for you, and the adjudicators involved were very impressed with you, and because of that you came second place. So well done. So Marie, I'd like you to maybe talk to us, let us know what was involved in preparation of the parade.
Yes, well, we asked all the children in the school who was interested in joining the Samba band, and we got all of these children to volunteer their time, and they gave up some of their lunch times. We used to come and practice at lunchtime, and we started just practicing on our hands, on our knees like this, and then we moved on to our Samba instruments, and then after that then we got our straps, and we moved on to parading up and down the yard with our instruments, and we finally ended up parading up and down the road outside the school. So that went on for about 2 or 3 weeks. So we were practicing that, and we had great commitment from the children here. Every one of them were delighted to give up their time, and we also were delighted to have received funding from the International Fund for Ireland for the Samba instruments. We received funding, and we trained in conjunction with Phyllis National School for the Samba. Now, unfortunately, they couldn't join us this year for the parade because it was a bit short. Maybe next year they might join us, and we might march together. And on the day, everybody showed up. We were delighted, and lots of parents came to help us too. And everybody came with their costumes. They went to great trouble with their face paints and their funny hats, and dressed themselves up for the day. And despite the rain and the cold and the long wait, they did a fantastic job, and we were delighted with it. And we're just delighted to see the second prize.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Well, I just want to give yourself a presentation. It's the second prize, and we hope that it will be able to spend whatever way you'd like to spend. Okay, so congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Okay, well done there to the children of the Gael School, Cavan, and the children of Killigary National School. There you saw Bocelli Lynch of Easton's Main Street, Cavan, and Pierce Street, Mullingar, who presented them with their prize for their float in the St. Patrick's Day Parade. And then in Killigary, Kathleen from Easton's presented them with their prizes, and they got their prize courtesy of Easton's Main Street, Cavan, and Pierce Street, Mullingar. Well done to the children there. They look a really happy bunch. Well, with me in the studio now, I'm going to welcome Barry Wilson, and Barry is from Belturbet. Good evening, Barry. You're welcome.
Good evening, Anya.
Barry is from Belturbet, and Barry is here this evening to talk about us and tell us about the fact that the Ulster Bank is closing down its branch in the town, and you are looking for alternative banking arrangements for the busy town of Belturbet. So go ahead, Barry. Tell us what you're at.
Well, I suppose a number of weeks ago there was a public meeting, and one of the outcomes from that public meeting was an instigation for a steering committee to be set up, and the purpose of that steering committee was to do the investigating, to see what was going to be available for the account holders currently in Belturbet, and what were going to the options going to be. So what we did was we invited about six different banking institutions from around the country to come to Belturbet, we give them a very short time space to come in, and we give them basically a week to choose any table that week to come in and do it. And so we basically had presentations. So we had 3 out of the 6 gave presentations. We had a presentation from the Allied Irish Bank and from the Bank of Ireland in Cavan and from the Credit Union. So,
sorry to stop you there now, Barry. Would this be mainly business people that were concerned about this, or people from the town, just townspeople?
Yeah, mainly yes, business people. I suppose were at the forefront, and town council were at the forefront of getting something, seeing what our options were, because it's obviously going to impact everybody. It seriously impacts the businesses and how they operate and how they do business in the future.
And can I ask you as well, how long was it from they told you this till they actually are going to close the door of the bank?
Okay, right. Well, the actual closure date of the bank is the 24th of May. So we thought we'd better, get something underway straight away so that we have a clear cut sort of roadmap for the future, where we're going. And I think we've actually achieved an awful lot in a very short space of time, because what we now know is what is going to happen in Belturbet. It's now basically set what is going to happen. And of
course, the people in Belturbet are used to having the Ulster Bank there. They can do their business there. They don't have to go to another town to do it. And you have the bank, the hole in the wall, the ATM. Yeah. And you can get your balance there. You can't get those off the ATMs in the private business. So that's going to be lost. And you also mentioned earlier that there's a night safe on the Ulster Bank as well.
That's right, yeah. We're going to lose the ATM from the Ulster Bank, and we're going to use the night safe. There's a lot of work currently being done on the future of what we do with another ATM in town. There are currently 2 ATMs on either end of the town in supermarkets. But there is a possibility that we may yet get another ATM in the town, and there's work being done on that subject.
Of course, the problem with the ATMs in the business is the business closes at 10 o'clock at night time, so access to money then is
This is true, that is right. Yes, but on the other hand, statistics show that 93% of all transactions in ATMs are carried out between the hours of 8 o'clock in the morning and 8 o'clock at night. So, yes, there's 7% of people going to be discommoded, but let's see how much that affects things. Yes, sometimes you say to yourself, well, there's when the Donegal bus comes through at 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever, you've got activity, and suddenly it's a very busy ATM at 3 o'clock in the morning, which are no more than any ATM is. But they are actually the exception. Belturbet may be slightly, more so than others, but it's quite a busy ATM, but not as busy as as the Ulster Bank or any other bank would like it. I think they'd look for a minimum of about 10,000 transactions per month, and the number of transactions in Belturbet is somewhere between 4,500 and 5,000. So it's less than 50% of what a banking institution would require. So, in other words, what we have been told by numerous banks is that they're not interested in providing a similar on-street type facility, because it doesn't pay, it doesn't justify. The insurance costs are so high. It's the incidences where you did
make a point earlier, Barry, that you found that the banks withdrawing their services from town were the only banks in the towns.
Yeah, this is going back a step or two, where the decision-making process by the Ulster Bank, we as a town and we as a committee view what they have done. Now, what I mean by they is the management, the upper management, the higher management of the Ulster Bank and the RBS. What they've done basically, they've picked out a few towns who don't have an opportunity to go to. We say, if is there an Allied Irish Bank in the town? No. Is there another bank in the town? No. And we'll close that one there, because they have to then go to where we send them. And what's looking. Well,
so
the Ulster Bank,
a tactical thing.
It is a tactical thing.
That's not very fair, not very loyal to customers, really, is it?
No, absolutely not. It can be justified commercially, because obviously, they're trying to protect their own business. But let's put it this way: we're in the business of protecting ourselves, or in our own business. So, as far as we're concerned at this stage, the Ulster Bank is, they bye-byes, they've gone, they've left. They haven't physically left yet, but we're putting enough things in place to satisfy our requirements for a banking institution. And the Ulster Bank, what they want to do at the moment is what they have said to it. They've sent everybody a nice letter saying, you don't have to do anything at all. You can sit quietly in your own home, and we will move your account to Ballyconnell and you can carry on
That's
your
not fair
transactions.
because, you know, people don't want to travel to Ballyconnell.
Well, I know of one
Or
person
Cavan,
already
you
now,
know.
for example, who has travelled to Ballyconnell to transact some business, and it was a €20 taxi fare, straight away for
and
a
what about
pensioner.
older people as well? Who
Well, this
don't-
was a pensioner,
it
so
was a
you've
pensioner,
got a case where people are walking down the street at the minute, and they're removing a small amount of cash nearly on a daily basis just to keep themselves going, keep themselves by. Too much cash in the house is not a good idea, so that type of thing.
Okay, so that's the reason why the people are upset about the bank being closed. So what kind of things are you looking into? You're saying the credit union maybe has come up with.
Well, the credit union is I suppose in a
good
way,
option
and it has the advantage insofar as that it's the one institution that's already in the town. It's had a checkered history in the town because it was very busy at one stage, 10 years ago, and recently now it's only opened on a Saturday, but. Vincent Walsh and the management in the Cavan Credit Union based here, they have given commitment that they have taken on. They're going to take on more staff. They're going to open on a Friday initially. What they need to do is, or what they need to see happening is accounts coming into them, and as the town and as the account holders increase in the credit union. The credit union will match the needs as required. Now, at the moment, what they've done is they're already.
What about business? That's for people living in the town and
Yeah.
residents. What about businesses coming to the town and tourists coming to the town in the summer seasons when they need a bank link and they need, people with maybe from Northern Ireland that need to access some money
You see,
from an ATM.
What is actually done is the parish of the Ulster Bank has done a number of things. One of them it has caused businesses especially and people to think about what they're doing and how they're doing business. Are we providing enough cashback facilities? Are we providing enough card change facilities in the town as it is? And that's an advantage to business going forward, because at the minute, when you're being spoon fed by a bank in the town, there's no need for it. I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just that people get used to doing business a certain way. But in actual fact, the world has moved on a little bit. It's not gone cashless or anything, but it's gone to a stage where foreign tourists come into Batorbet and they want to get access cash, a small amount to do their day's business. They can do it over the counter. They don't have to go to a bank to do it.
But I know some shops in town here as well. They won't take a small transaction on your card if it's less than 10, 12 euros. What about things like that?
This is something for up to the individual business to work out.
Yeah,
There are like, let's put it this way. You can.
But that's just a fine tuning.
It's a fine tuning, and let's put it this way. We're having to react. We're having to make changes, and change is a good thing. Change is difficult. We don't know what to like them.
From now until May to get.
We haven't from now until May, and we're in constant negotiation and discussion with the credit union and a couple of the other banks as well to see what facilities, because what we don't want to see happening is that people are being taken advantage of and their accounts being shoved to Ballyconnell. Ballyconnell is a fine place, wonderful, but we don't want to have our business move there.
So how do the businesses feel? Do they feel like, are they annoyed that they have to move they have to travel to Cavan or whatever? Would they even change from Ulster Bank?
Absolutely. One of the things that this is highlighted is the fact that last time I checked, this was a free country. We can make our own decisions about what we want to do. There are businesses who have stated outright, look, I'm prepared to wait until such time as the credit union get their sort code in place and get their debit cards in place and their direct debit facilities in place, and I'll move everything lock, stock and barrel to them.
So
that's
people
fine.
are angry.
Going back to your question, yes, they were. Let's put this way: there was a lot of weeping, wailing, and gnashing of teeth in the very beginning because, people were stunned. And it took everybody sort of a couple of weeks to sort of work through the process. But we very quickly came to the realisation that there was no point in battering down the door with the Ulster Bank. The people who actually work in it for start off are fine people doing a fantastic job as best they can in very difficult circumstances. They're not being aided by their own management. So I don't think that the population of the town have anything but good regard for those people. None whatsoever. Now, but as far as anger is concerned, yes, we are very angry with the RBS. Totally, because, It's a foreign bank basically. So what we're looking at here is replacing that with our own alternatives, and our own alternatives are numerous. We can go to Cavan.
So you're looking into all of those?
We're looking into we have looked into them. We've had presentations.
Have you any decisions made yet?
It's not about, everybody has to make their own decisions. It's not this is not us
but you're
telling
happy
anybody.
with what the credit union has put up to you?
Absolutely. The credit union will have a full banking facility in Belturbet, albeit on a graded stratus, so sort of heading up. As we invest in them, they will invest in us.
Okay.
So that's the way forward. It's a community approach. It's a very ethical approach. It's a very prudent and a very cautious approach, which is to be complimented and very very much lauded. I mean, it's one of the things that the high street banks, I suppose, were remiss in doing over the years. And I'm not any kind of I'm not going to pontificate about the rights and wrongs of what the banks did, even though I think we all should. The credit union are sort of stand out as the notable exception in the midst of the bunch, that they are
more of the people.
More of the people, absolutely.
Profit.
Well, they're accountable. They're community owned. They're community based. They lend community to community projects, and they tick all the boxes in that regard, as opposed to some of the banks who.
So for the people in Belturbet, it's a rethink of their banking ways and a rethink of the system.
Yes, it's given us an opportunity, and it's a very positive opportunity to be able to look at what we're doing and how we improve on it and how we can improve on it. And I think Belturbet should be and can be a shining light to other communities who sometimes feel that we're being abandoned, we're having this stripped from us, and our Garda stations taken away, and our that taken away, and whatever, and we're having our bank telling us what to do. I don't think so.
Yeah, I get that. But then maybe if most people do start to use the credit union, that they're putting something back into the credit union, and it in turn puts it back into the community, doesn't it?
Well, that's it. That's the whole principle of the thing.
Your shares.
I mean, I'm a very
it's
modest.
a friendlier banking system, smaller, more friendlier, and everything. You were telling me earlier as well that you're going to have a rally on Monday.
That's right. The whole purpose of the rally was it was sort of a last sort of came out of the blue. I think we should do something. We'll have a bit of fun, and
right, so
it's something very positive. Yes. Well, it was. Some called it a protest. Some call it a demonstration. I call it a bit of a celebration. But call it a rally, because at the end of the day, we do intend to mark an occasion. Now we have lots of different rallies.
Townspeople, business people, townspeople, concerned people.
Everybody's welcome, because at the end of the day, we're only going to do it for a short period. At 10 o'clock on...
But what is the purpose of it? Is it to say, Ulster Bank, hey, bye-bye, or you see what you're doing to us, or look, poor us, or what's the idea?
Certainly is not poor us. There's absolutely nothing negative about this.
You've been defiant.
Yes, we're being defiant, and we're being positive. We're pointing out to the Ulster Bank, look, we're not going to let you tell us what to do. We're quite prepared and quite capable of our own self-determination, and we intend to do that. And look, it may suit some people to go to the AIB. It may suit some people to go to the Bank of Ireland.
So on the day, what do you intend doing on the day? What form is the
We intend just to have a demonstration on the street, a rally on the street.
What time?
10 o'clock. 10
o'clock in the morning, Monday
morning. And
outside
rain,
the Ulster
hail or
Bank.
shine, outside the Ulster Bank.
You'll be there in the front row.
Well, I'll be there amongst
people,
the townspeople. Yeah, definitely.
So you're just saying, townspeople, here we are. This is Ulster Bank. You're not going to rule us, basically.
Exactly. It was lovely having you for as long as you stayed. But when you're going,
was it in the town? It's been in the town for as long as you remember.
I couldn't give you the exact dates, but it's one of the oldest Ulster Banks south of the border.
Right. Okay. And you'd have a lot of families through the generations would have stayed with the Ulster Bank.
Oh yeah,
as well.
like my own family, our family for over
stick to banks.
generations.
It's like Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael. You stick to your party kind of thing.
Well, I wouldn't call it quite that.
Well, they do,
They do, yeah. No, and at the end of the day, at the end of the day, I think what we have an opportunity here to
so you're looking at it in a positive way.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, we're looking at a little bit of change here, and change here is a little bit like the egg. Have you ever heard the C.S. Lewis's egg, where he talked about it's very difficult for an egg to turn into a bird, but equally it's far, far more difficult for a bird to learn how to fly inside the egg. So the whole point is we have to change. Yeah. So this is giving us an opportunity to change. So we see that the departure of the Ulster Bank as a chance for us to re-examine what we do and do it better. Because, if you're being sort of spoon-fed, which is grand, it's comfortable, but once you get out of your comfort zone, you have to rethink how you do things, and there are numerous different ways of doing it, and how you end up doing, how the people of Belturbet end up doing it will be up to themselves, very much, because all we have done as a guiding committee is present the opportunities.
Yeah, it's probably time for the people to readdress their systems and look at, see what are they actually doing, because sometimes you can get into a kind of a system where you're just doing banking and you don't really think anything about it anymore. Now they're going to look into it and see what they're doing.
You examine to see how to do things, and as I say, some people will be quite happy to go to Ballyconnell because it suits them. I was talking to a lad the other day, and he's actually working at Ballyconnell, and it suits him. That's fine. It's 110%.
Okay. But that obviously won't suit everybody.
It won't suit everybody, and what we're saying is there are opportunities out there that will suit you.
Okay.
Whichever chooses yourself, whatever.
Now let's talk about Belturbet. Belturbet is a great town. It's a lovely town, and its name comes from the mouth of the isthmus.
Isthmus, that's the one. Yeah.
And we were talking about an isthmus earlier. You tell me what the isthmus is now. It's
the isthmus is a promontory of land that joins a small piece of land onto a major one, and of course there isn't actually an isthmus in Belturbet anymore. It has been recreated as an island, and that's Turbet Island. And that I suppose its history goes back as far as the 1200s, when the Normans reached as far as Belturbet. That was one of the most northerly points. It was a great position for the Normans to be able to defend the ford, which is the crossing point at the river. There was no bridge at the course of the time, so they were able to extract levies from people who crossed it. And of course, the departure after the Normans left, you had the O'Rahilly clan and different ones who they did exactly the same thing basically. And then you had the English, and they did something similar as well. Of course,
it was a gateway to the north.
Yes, and it was a fortress town. It was a gateway town, I suppose, and that actual theme transfers right through till today, because Belturbet sees itself and is rebranding itself as a gateway town to, I suppose, Riverland, to the Geopark as well, I suppose it's a land. It's a town of opportunity, because it links the riverside to accessibility. The new bypass coming around Belturbet highlights along the way numerous vistas of the river, which you don't currently have. So by the time you get around to having to slow down enough at the roundabout, you're thinking, oh, there's a nice town, I'll go in there. Because you've got a nice view of the town before you come to it. You have an understanding that it's on the river, which you didn't have prior to this, because up to this, the only understanding you had that it was on a river was when you were actually crossing over the bridge at Kilcunny, which you don't have much of a view of the river. So.
Okay, so the bypass, you think it's going to do the town good?
I do, yes. And I'm not a lone voice.
A lot of people, when they hear bypass, oh my goodness, we're going to lose all our passing trade, it'll become a ghost town, but no.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, at the end of the day, you have to look around to see what evidence there is in other towns, and yes, I think the current evidence around the place is that there will be a period of weeks, months, where there'll be a certain amount of weeping and wailing, and there will be a loss of trade to passing trade. But there's an opportunity there as well that we can rebrand the town, as I said, to I suppose to highlight what we do have, and what we do have is a lovely
you have got the marina down there.
There's the marina down there, and once we get rid of the lorries, because at the end of the day we've got 90% of the traffic going through Belturbet doesn't stop anywhere. So
it's the same with every town.
It's the same with every town. So now is as good a time as any for it to be bypassed, I believe. Yes, there will be the naysayers, and of course, the town's going to be ruined when the bypass comes. But I take the view, and a lot of people take the view, that it's the other way around. That the town is substantially, with the economy and all that, so it's substantially ruined anyway. So it can only help it.
But Belturbet is a really picturesque town. You've got the old railway station that has been, recently
it's
done.
been refurbished.
So if anybody's bypassing the town, they won't see this if they're bypassing it. They won't stop.
No,
Yeah.
but at the moment, what you have is you have so much through traffic, so much lorries through traffic that it's not conducive to stopping in. So when there's an opportunity now to remarket the town as somewhere that's worth popping into, because what you've got, as I said, if you take the bypass. When it's
Basically,
open.
what you're saying is you want to market. This is an option. Now you want to market the town that people actually will make it a journey to come there
Yes.
rather than just to stop when they're passing
Yes.
through. So you'll have more people coming there than stopping.
You have a lot of people at the moment just driving through,
Yeah.
and that's pointless.
To the north and
It's
from
not.
the north.
It's not helping Belturbet. It's making the town a dirty place. It's impossible to clean up after because there's so much dust and dirt coming off the roads and whatnot. Get rid of all the through traffic, the lorries and all the rest. We don't need it. It's no good to us, like, you know. And reinvent the town, remarket the town as somewhere. There are lovely eateries in the town. There's lovely restaurants, and there's lovely places to relax and have a nice quiet pint. And what there's great music.
It'll
facilities
take
in the
a
town.
while to build up this.
Well, of course, yeah. But I mean, the thing is, people need to be positive about it. People need to, change their businesses. People need to. And this is all, it goes back to where we are in Belturbet anyway. As far as the bank is concerned, they've reinforced our desire and our need to change.
Do you have the backing? Are the people in tune with you in this? Like,
I hope so.
Yeah, yeah, and well,
Yes,
most of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole point of the steering committee in Belturbet, and it's made up of, as I say, business people. It's made up of the people in the town council and from the wider community. It's a very, very broad spectrum. So. We've had regular meetings, between meeting banks and what other things.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, there are so many different groups in Belturbet. There's about something like 35 something odd voluntary groups in Belturbet, from sports to, everything to whatever, and there's a huge amount of community involvement in Belturbet, and that's fantastic because.
Well, you've got great festivals down there. You have the Festival of the Aine.
Oh, better start at the beginning. I have a list.
Yeah.
No,
well,
we
just
start
briefly,
off.
You can
It was
briefly
very
mention
briefly.
the Festival of the Aine.
The Festival of the Aine is
the Lady of the Aine.
Is the big one. But we're starting off this year with the Spring Parade, which is I think it's the only one in the county on the Easter Sunday.
Oh, great! That's Sunday week.
That's Sunday week, is right.
Down
So
to Belturbet to the Spring Parade.
That'll be fun. So there's some say crazy stuff happening at it. Then on the 8th of June we have a follow-on from last year's Turbot Live event, which is the music event on the island we had last year. We intend to expand on it a bit this year. We make it a 5-hour event. So that's the big one in June. There's a couple of other.
The Lady of the Aine, then.
The Lady of the Aine and the whole festival in July. And then there's usually we had one. Did you hear about the one we had last year for the we had Michael Jackson Thriller Night. Did you see that one?
Yeah, that's the fancy dress. No, that wasn't.
No, it wasn't. It was.
You have a fantastic big fancy dress. That's in the Lady of the Aine.
That's in the Lady of the Aine. Yes, that's right. And so the events in Belturbet runs right through the whole year. It's a full calendar.
Okay. So great, Belturbet's great. Actually, Belturbet's great.
I think we've established that.
It is great. It's a very cultural town as well. Lots of music, and you have plays. You have Brendan McCann there who writes these plays.
That's right. Yeah.
And well done. So Belturbet is the place to go. So hopefully you get your banking system sorted.
I think
So
we're well
we'll
on
be
the
able
way.
to take out a few bob when we go down there.
I think we're well on the way. Yeah.
And we don't get hit by a lorry on Main Street.
No.
Okay, so thanks very much, Barry, and thanks for your chat, and thanks for all the information about Belturbet. Thank you, and
Very
well done
welcome.
with the steering committee, and keep up the good work. So thank you for coming into the studio. I know you had a cold this evening, and hopefully you're feeling a bit better now.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that brings tonight's show to an end. I'd like to thank this evening's guests, and that's Aegon Smith being the good neighbour of the year, and to Barry Wilson from Belturbet. So don't forget to watch next week's programme, as I have that exclusive interview with Catherine Valley, who came across that man Cavan on a quiet road in Ballinamore, County Leitrim. So it's good evening, enjoy the weekend, and do take care.